Please allow me to navigate through the webinar content to give you an overview of what we intend to present today. We'll be introducing the panel of speakers, the purpose of this webinar, some of the key challenges of running SAP workloads on-premise. We will then dive into the key phases of migrating from on-premise to the cloud. We will also be covering a section on the key migration challenges that we observe and how you can mitigate this. What kind of accelerators are available to accelerate your migration, the tools that are available. We have a number of slides which will cover why AWS is the right hyperscaler or cloud platform, and we conclude this session. Allow me to please introduce the speakers. My name is Sassoon Sadiq, and I'm the regional head for Middle East and Africa at Exalogic. I've been working for the last 10 years with Exalogic and helping customers transform into a digital enterprise. My colleague, Deepa Das, is the VP for Technology and Innovation at Exalogic. She has more than 18 years of experience in Innovate successfully. My colleague Raheel, partner architect at Redington, and has more than 5 years of experience in guiding customers. The background of Exalogic, just to give you an introduction, if any of you are not aware of Exalogic, we have been in the business for more than a decade, helping customers to transform into an intelligent enterprise, enabling customers to migrate into the cloud. We are a good standing SAP partner and an AWS partner. We are one of the first certified SAP S/4HANA application service provider. We are also an SAP certified hosting service provider in the United Arab Emirates. We don't want to take much time. We will just set the purpose. Webinar, sorry. Even today, a staggering number of customers run their SAP workloads on-premise. This webinar will give you a general understanding of how to migrate from on-premise to the cloud. By the end of this presentation, we are confident that you will recognize how you can scale your infrastructure easily, improve performance drastically, apply your security requirements swiftly, and accelerate innovation. At the end, you can even remove those racks and servers in your office and create some room for meditation. Most of the audiences who have joined this webinar are most likely running their SAP applications on-premise, and they are very well aware of the challenges and restrictions they face on a daily basis, including the need to optimize cost. Let's look at some of the important challenges. One of the primary challenges that we have when we run our workloads on-premise is scalability. To keep up with your business expectations and associated infrastructure requirements, the single most challenge is scalability that businesses and IT professionals face together. Wherever it is routine, whenever there is also a routine maintenance or a mandatory or business-driven important update, you need sandboxes, additional infrastructure, which slows down the process and hinders the agility you require as a business. Even when it comes to disaster recovery, which is a solution which is a must, but can be extremely expensive, complex, and you face reliability issues. Also, today's organizations wants to move out from a CapEx model of infrastructure. Traditionally, in-house infrastructure models put a lot of financial the need is, and this I hand over through what are the important steps when you migrate, whenever you're prepared to migrate from on-premise to the cloud.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So, thank you, Sasud, for introducing about the Exalogic and the key works we are doing. And coming to the SAP migration phases, you have explained about the key challenges, what we face on premise, and what is the reason for moving to the cloud. So, when we are moving to the cloud, we can't do it in a one step, and we need to have multiple steps to be taken care to have a successful cloud migration. So main reason why enterprises move to cloud is to address the problems we see related to the reducing of costs and reduce internal workload and manage critical assets. So coming to the key phases which come during the SAP migration to cloud, they come as evaluate, design phase, execute, and optimization. So evaluation allows you to know your requirements, map these to a process which makes it easy for the migration. During this phase, you decide what you need to migrate, reevaluate your business needs, because when you have built the application, it would have gone multiple iterations and many changes would have happened. So make use of this opportunity to see what's actually needed and remove the redundant things which are not needed anymore. So analyze your requirements and decide on your roadmap for SAP migration. Decide on which cloud provider you are going to use. Come up with a proper system landscape during this phase. So we can go to the design phase. So design allows you to build a framework with which you can actually do the migration or execute the migration. As you have the cloud provider chosen, come up with a detailed and clear deployment strategy, cloud strategy, and decide on what are the servers you are going to use and what applications you are going to use and which are going to comprise your SAP landscape. Create custom models when you want to have some sort for the migration. And then during the execution phase, which is the critical phase, you can move to the execution phase. So during the execution phase, build the destination architecture, and you started with the start your migration in a sandbox, which is a representative of your production. So this may be a recent system copy of production, and with the system masked data, you can't use the production data into your sandbox when you're doing any testing. So we normally use during the migration tools like Data Sync Manager for this masking. So run the sandbox through the migration process end to end and document all the steps what you're going to do and the runtimes they are going to do take for the execution. Typically, the sandbox is a standalone system which is not connected with all your integrations. And so purpose of this run is to document your migration steps and note down your run times. And usually we plan sufficient time for this phase, this sandbox execution, because it provides ample space for learning opportunities and correct our potential errors in the future. So it's often necessary to repeat this step, this phase, and after sequencing it and it has been confirmed, then you build your QA system with the same choices you made in the sandbox, but rebuild afresh from the scratch and copy the existing QA system from the customer data center to your cloud hosted partner wherever you had put, and perform a test migration of the production. This is a key step and which cannot be skipped, because this is your final opportunity to test the migration document with a full size production copy and finalize the document, including the runtimes, even when you're doing it in the QS server. Finally, do the integration testing with all the stakeholders, because it is the last opportunity to test and correct if we have made any mistakes. And end-to-end testing at this phase will ensure that the business processes and interfaces are tested thoroughly. So finally, you do a production copy using tried and the trusted migration document steps, what you have put, and include the timelines and detailed step-by-step instructions, and collaborate with all the concerned teams and ensure that the smooth handover has been taken care, and resume the normal production once everything is successful. And then comes the final optimization phase. Yes, you have done your you designed, you put your landscape in place and you have executed and production is already there. Now, moving to cloud just doesn't mean that you have everything in place and it's going to be thorough. So ensure you are optimizing your cloud resources thoroughly. In this one, ensure you have the backups in place, optimize your cloud storage usage, cloud server usage, and ensure you have the DB backups configured and the disk snapshots are maintained on your servers so that if anything happens, you can restore them on your VM disk. So these all can be tested during the optimization phase. And we always have a robust monitoring solution for, because monitoring actually helps you to correct where the issues are, where performance issues are there. And choosing a certified public cloud partner who knows the SAP basis implementations and has used automated monitoring tools will help you optimize your resources. Then take advantage of the saving options that the usual cloud provider has given you, and because this usually helps you achieve significant savings when you're using the infra. And track your billing closely, because the cloud providers usually provide a billing dashboard that you should closely monitor with your certified partners. And that comes to a conclusion of the phases which are involved in the key migration one. Let's move to the let's move to the next slide. Okay, coming to the migration accelerators. So we are covering here the migration accelerators with respect to the AWS. So when we are migrating SAP systems to AWS, we can either do them manually or do using automatic deployments or through pre-built images. So majority of the solutions which are there are all SAP supported solutions are available on AWS, and they can be done manually and using the best practices and the resources available both in the SAP as well as on the AWS. We can also use the quick starts given by AWS, and they come up with best practices. And when you're moving to cloud, you can definitely use the licenses what you have on your premises directly onto AWS. You're not spending extra for additional one when you're moving to the AWS cloud. Make use of bring your own license, which is already you have taken earlier. So during the migration, we can either make use of the standard migration tools and or use the tools whatever are coming up with the cloud partners. And coming to the tools which are available in AWS, there are multiple infrastructure tools where you can procure the resources through AWS Cloud Formation. It allows you to get the resources using infrastructure as a code. And you can also use Systems Manager and a service catalog. So when we come to the Launch Wizard allows you to reduce the time when you want to turn around a quick sandbox or anything, or you want to see how you're going to create a production instance. The Launch Wizard actually covers the steps done by infra team in the terms of setting up of the hardware, the operating system, deployment, storage allocation, setting up the servers and the storage configurations. Optionally, it also does the HANA installation. You can move your HANA software to the S3, but it needs to have a prefix of Launch Wizard, and then you can run it from there. So for accelerating your migration, it is always best to choose a certified cloud partner who comes with rich expertise and helps you with your migration acceleration. Okay, there are multiple tools in AWS which support the DevOps and which support your monitoring, like CloudWatch and CloudTrail. You can make use of all of those for optimizing your resources. So soon you can move to the next one. Okay, so coming to the key migration challenges. So SAP migration to cloud is not a very straightforward step. If it was very straightforward when SAP has announced or released S4HANA in 2015, everyone would have migrated to cloud immediately. So, but S4HANA is the future of the enterprise cloud, and which is going to enable total and true digital transformation. It's going to come with its values very high, but is it really very easy? not completely really, but it is achievable. Not that it is not unachievable, it helps. So there are few changes which come when when we are doing the migration. So when it is system conversions, so that is migration from legacy ECC to S4HANA, and take use of the simplifying the total cost of ownership, system conversions play a key role. So many new customers suffer a lot due to the lack of knowledge, the unplanned downtime, and lack of cloud strategy, and inconsistent standards across various cloud providers. So what are the key challenges we see? We see key challenges related to the data transfer, the downtime, and skill gaps. So data transfer. So when we have to data transfer, sometimes it might be easy to just do a lift and shift and put the data there and start using from there. Sometimes when we have a conversion, we need to modify that. Suppose when it is uh, migration from legacy databases to S4HANA, we might have to come up with, we need to have multiple other activities like the data cleansing, because ECC and the legacy apps allow you for much customization, and those customized fields won't get migrated automatically. So if you migrate them, you're going to lose all the customizations what you have done, and it would risk in data loss. And even the time it takes, the latency it takes in data transfer, we could make use of the tools like AWS Snowball and the Direct Connect for actually migrating the DB backups, which are huge and bulk in SAP world. Then coming to the downtime, SAP applications are not an easy thing, which can have a longer downtime. So maintaining minimal downtime is needed for migration of these critical applications. So developing a clear strategy internally will help you lower the risk to both the systems and the teams associated with the migration. Coming to the skill gap or the trained workforce, when we migrate to cloud, normally in-house knowledge on the new cloud might be very minimal, and it is a key challenge. After we migrate, what do we do, how do we manage? So partnering with the right cloud partner or providers will help you in bridging this knowledge gap. This not only minimizes the risks of what we have seen, the key challenges, whatever we have seen, it also distributes the workload and transfers the expertise to both the areas. So partners come with the deep skill expertise, so who have done multiple migrations and come with a rich experience. So with that, I conclude on the key migration challenges and give it to Raheel, who will tell why we have to choose AWS as a cloud provider for hosting in SAP.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. I hope everyone can hear me.
Yeah, you're loud and clear, Rahil. Thank you.
Thanks, Susan. So I'm just checking if I have control. All right, yeah. All right, so let's understand about streamlining the overall SAP operation, how you can streamline your SAP normal daily operations using AWS service. So AWS offers a number of services. In terms of monitoring, you have CloudWatch. In terms of scalability, you can use auto scaling, at least for the web tier. So we'll discuss about the AWS services for streamlining your SAP operation. So first one is build once, deploy globally. So you can have a template where you can use the template to deploy all your SAP workload in multiple accounts, or maybe in a different region itself. So you can basically build once and deploy globally. You can deploy in minutes versus week, or sometime SAP deployment can take even months. So with the help of templates and with the help of AWS services and very strong integration, you can deploy SAP workload maybe in minutes, in few minutes. Scalability is not a challenge when you run your SAP workload on AWS. So you can scale up to meet your actual demand. And when you see, okay, the peak has gone down and you no longer get the traffic that you expected, so you can always scale down also. So scalability, again, it's very easy when you use AWS services. You can deploy complex topologies with ease. So if you have a complex SAP architecture and it requires a lot of interfaces and connectivity, not a challenge. You can also, sorry. All right. So you can deploy complex topologies in minutes. Then in terms of performance and operation reliability, you have a visibility of what's going on inside your infrastructure. Metrics related to performance are available at your disposal, and you can see basically what is happening inside your application. You have complete visibility, so you can monitor each and every aspect of your application. Then adding to that, you can combine with other AWS services. For example, you can automate a lot of activities using AWS Lambda function, and you can basically have chatbot integration even with your SAP workload. I've seen partner doing it. So you can basically integrate chatbots and other AI and ML related services with your SAP workload. Right. Let's understand what sets AWS for SAP apart. There are many other cloud vendors, as you all know. So, but AWS has specific advantages. We'll discuss about those advantages in this slide. So AWS innovates and it comes up with new services, and even it enhances the current features every year. So one example is AWS Nitro system for SAP. So Nitro system gives you bare metal performance, a near to bare metal performance on your SAP workload. So you will not feel the challenges that you feel with your normal virtualization layer. So with SAP Nitro system, especially with Nitro hypervisor and Nitro enclosure, you can get close to bare metal performances for your SAP workload. And this really helps, if you ask me, because you have less dependency on the hypervisor, and the resources and the application can make use of the underlying hardware directly. Right. In terms of virtual machine support, you have 4 times HANA support. So you can have a instance with 48 terabyte of memory for S4 HANA, and you can have a cluster which supports up to 100 terabyte of memory for analytics OLAP workload. AWS comes with broadest set of SAP certifications. So when you run your workload in SAP, it comes with certification. You're actually running your SAP workload on certified SAP machines. AWS is a cloud innovation partner. So basically, you'll have support for the cloud services, and you have SAP in 7 regions. It is also available. SAP Cloud. This is available in 7 regions. You have a broad partner community when it comes to SAP. So there are case studies available. There are forums available on how you can use SAP and how you should deploy SAP on AWS. Plus, there are white papers. So please make use of those resources. These are really, really important. And then AWS, as you all know, we have multiple regions in AWS. So let's say you want to go global tomorrow and you want to deploy SAP in multiple different geographies, not a challenge. You can go global in minutes. Right. Let's talk about AWS Nitro system for SAP system. So Nitro systems, as I mentioned earlier, it allows you to make full utilization of your underlying hardware, which gives you a performance boost. It provides the highest core count in the industry and seamless integration experience is also possible for the SAP workload. So what happens for especially EC2 bare metal instances, the HANA instance can make use of these underlying physical resources directly, and you'll not feel the virtualization layer underlying it. So you'll get the best performance, especially for your SAP workload. And in terms of scalability, you can have an instance as big as 24 terabyte, which comes with 24 terabyte of memory. And uh, SAPS is huge, 480K SAPS. I don't think any other cloud provider provides this many SAPS. So that doesn't mean the smaller instances are not available. There are smaller SAP instances are also available at AWS, the certified ones I'm talking about. So we'll see that in the upcoming slides. All right. So we talked about scale up options. So you can start with very low, for example, with 244 MB of 244 GB of memory, and you can go really big. You can go up to 24 terabyte. You can go with an instance which comes up with 24 terabyte of memory. This is for OLTP, and OLTP can even scale up to 48 terabyte. We have UB metal servers which now support 48 terabyte of memory. And for OLAP scale out, you can go up to 50 terabyte. You can go with 50 terabyte of memory. And even now with 25 node cluster, you can go up to 100 terabyte. All right. Now, as you all know, most of the application are served from cloud. So it really makes sense to run SAP HANA in the cloud, right? And when we talk about cloud, why not to go with AWS, which offers so many good services and so many advantages over other cloud platform. For example, bare metal instances, for example, Nitro hypervisors, which we discussed. On top of it, you can also integrate your SAP workload with other AWS services. For example, with S3 for backup storage, you can use Elastic File System to present shared drive for your SAP instances, application servers, and you can also do load balancing. So this is an architecture, a high-level architecture, I would say, so on how you can deploy SAP workload on AWS. So you can see you'll have a pool of application servers running on EC2 instances, and then you will have a high memory instance for SAP HANA databases. In the green below, in green, you can see EBS volumes. So EBS volumes can be general purpose SSDs, or it can be provisioned IO. So all your IO requirement for storage can be met with EBS volumes. Now, this architecture can span across multiple zones to give you high availability. And then, as I said, you can also integrate SAP application with other AWS services like Lambda for automation, S3 for backup. You can build a machine learning model with SageMaker. A lot of cool stuff you can do. Now, when we talk about management, most of the time you'll do management from AWS Management Console, which is a GUI, and you can manage your AWS resources directly from the console. If you want to execute remote scripts, or if you have to do shell management, you can use command line interfaces, and you can control access to AWS through identity and access management. Right. So with AWS, you have multiple options to deploy your SAP workload in HA, or you have multiple options for the disaster recovery as well. So let's talk about high availability. So high availability, how it works. So basically you'll have application tier running in one availability zone, and you can spread that application tier across multiple AZ, so that It makes use of 2 AWS facilities, and then you can put it behind the load balancer. Now for HANA databases, you'll have a high memory instance running in availability zone 1 and another high memory instance running in availability zone 2, and you will configure the replication between the HANA DB instance. It could be using native HANA replication, and the connectivity between these two availability zone. I would say it would be single digit latency, millisecond latency. It won't go beyond 10 millisecond latency. So you'll have a better connectivity between your AZ, and you can configure replication between your HANA DB instances. Now for the disaster recovery, I would say you should consider another region, because you should protect your SAP workload against region failure. So same HANA DB instance will be configured in another region, in another geography, and you will configure the replication to the DR site. So if your production is running in Bahrain, you can have DR in Mumbai, or you can have a DR in Ireland, and the replication can be configured. Now, it is possible to get private connectivity between these two regions. There are multiple options through which you can establish private connectivity between these two regions, so data will never go out. So it will stay within the AWS data center. And similarly, depending upon your DR strategy and RPO and RTO, you can have application tier up and running, or you can keep the application, you can shut down the application tier to save cost if you're okay with the higher RPO and RTO. The key point here is the architecture is consistent even when we talk about smaller HANA DB instance, which comes up with 244 GB of memory, or if we talk about huge HANA DB instance with up to 24 terabyte of memory. So the architecture will remain consistent. You are not making any major changes in the architecture, right? Okay. Sorry, I think I moved. All right, so we have EC2 instances certified for the SAP workload. And as you can see, there are multiple instance types. So you can make use of C5, you can make use of M5, R5, X1, and high memory instance, HMI. And even you can run your SAP workload on bare metal machines. So when we talk about C5, the maximum memory you can get is 144 GB, with M5 384 GB, R5 768 GB, X1 4 terabyte, and HMI up to 24 terabyte. That's the maximum memory, right? So you see there are multiple instance type which you can select based upon your compute requirement, based upon your performance requirement. So SAP is also with C5 95 up to 95K SAPS is supported, and it will increase for the remaining series. For M5 it's 142, R5 it's also 142K. And if we talk about high memory instance, you can go up to 480K SAPS. As you choose a bigger instance, you'll get better network bandwidth. So with HMI, you will have 100 Gbps of bandwidth, right? And with C5, the largest instance, you can get up to 100 Gbps of network bandwidth. Similarly, maximum storage bandwidth are available for all these families, and these are very big numbers. So depending upon your requirement, you can select any of the certified instances. All right. Okay. Now, Amazon EC2 high memory instance, as we discussed, it support up to 48 terabyte. I think this this is incorrect. Now 48 terabyte of memory is supported even with SAP certified. With the newer instances, you can go even up to 48 terabyte of you can use up to 48 terabyte of memory. Right, it is all powered by Intel Xeon Scalable Skylake processor and Intel Xeon Scalable Cascade Lake processor, and these are certified SAP VMs. Now it's all native to AWS. There's no hybrid architecture. So these machines and these processors are pretty much native to AWS. And you can also have, you can use elastic block storage to meet your storage requirement and to meet your IO requirement. So EBS, it comes with general purpose SSD, provisioned IO, right? Hard disk, I won't recommend. Throughput optimized hard disk is also there, but I won't recommend. So most of the time you will use either general purpose SSD or provisioned IO for your EBS storage. It's very simple to manage. So you with few clicks and with few CLI commands, you'll be up and running, and you can launch an instance, an SAP certified instance. And if we talk about operating systems, so you have wide variety of options. You can run your SAP instance on SUSE Linux. You can run it on SUSE Linux for SAP. You can run it on Red Hat, and there all the major operating systems are supported. And scalability is again not a challenge in AWS, so you can go big anytime. So within few clicks, you can scale your SAP instance. Right. So let's discuss about the process. Let's say if you have to increase your EC2 instance, increase the capacity of your EC2 instance, what is the step? So the first thing is let's imagine if these instances are standalone instance, if they are not running in cluster. First of all, we should take a 5-minute downtime window. You can do this operation at night. The first thing that you should do is you should stop the EC2 instance, the current SAP HANA instance. You should stop it through console or CLI. Then change the instance type, select the bigger instance, and then start the instance again using command line or console, and you're up and running. So you see, it's so easy, and it gives the customer flexibility to go big anytime. So it's very handy, especially when we have to do hardware upgrades. It won't take much time. You can be up and running in minutes. The storage will move automatically because these are network attached storage. So it will automatically get attached to your new instance. And when you do a stop and start, actually the EC2 instance will move to a new host. So storage will, as I said, storage will get automatically attached. And if there was any hardware upgrade, or if there was any patch that was pending, so that can also be installed at the same time. And instance specification remain as it is. So we're not changing the instance family. It's just that we're adding more memory. So the specification, your processors, everything remain as it is. It's just that we are moving to a higher memory instance. So it's really simple. Scaling up is not a challenge at all in AWS. So elastic storage capacity with EBS, as I said, you can have network attached storage for your SAP servers. It could be general purpose SSD, it could be provision IO, and you can pick and choose the IOPS. So if you require really high IOPS, you can define your IOPS, and you can define your IOPS, and you can provision volume as per the required IOPS. You can modify, you can increase the capacity of volume without shutting down your instance. You can do live modification, and that's because EBS allows us to modify volume size. You can change, increase the volume size whenever you want. You will have a lot of metrics related to your disk performance, you're related to IOQ. So you will get a lot of insight about your EBS volume performance. And at last, you can also use CloudWatch event, or you can also use Lambda function to perform certain action in case of an event. So let's say to perform snapshot, or to whenever you are rolling out a critical update, you can trigger a CloudWatch event saying that to take a snapshot, or you can send an alert basically to your administrator. So a lot of automations can be done with CloudWatch integration and Lambda integration. So AWS has global coverage. We have 22 regions and many others are planned. So to give you an idea, these are some of the regions. I think Africa, yeah, we have a region in Africa, South Africa, that's also highlighted. Okay, so you can choose any of the region to deploy or to run your SAP workload, and you can all of these regions are available to you. You can use any of these regions except for the Gulf Cloud, right? So you can use any of these regions. So, yeah, 10 out of 12 SAP hyperscale cloud regions run on AWS, providing the service available to AWS. So it's 5 times. So in blue, you can see SAP Cloud Platform, NS2 region. This is also on AWS. And in purple, you have active AWS regions. So for example, Northern Virginia is also an AWS region, and you also have SAP Cloud Platform running in Northern Virginia. Right, but in Bahrain, you only have an active AWS region. I think most of you who are from UAE will deploy SAP in Bahrain, right? So it currently doesn't have a SAP Cloud Platform. Okay. All right. Okay, can we go back? Sasun, can we go back to the previous slide? Yeah. So in terms of business architecture, so you will have SAP Cloud Application, which has its own architecture. It has its own tier, as you can see in the slide. And you can have SAP on-premise application, which has its own components, services. By the way, this is a business architecture, not a technical architecture. So we will discuss what component you can use on AWS. For example, the infrastructure layer, as you can see in the end, it can be completely on AWS. So you can use AWS infrastructure services like EC2. You can use EBS volumes, and then you can use storage also from AWS, whether it's object storage or block storage. In terms of platform, you can use AWS platform services. You can use PostgreSQL to store metadata. You can use AWS DynamoDB to store, again, metadata can be stored, SAP metadata can be stored in DynamoDB. You can use Lambda function for automation. You can run Athena queries for your, you can run Athena queries, SQL queries against your SAP dataset. So these are some of the platform services which you can use along with SAP workload, and I think this will definitely add value. In terms of application, you can use WorkDocs, you can use Amazon Chime, Alexa, or Amazon Connect. And there are many more. I've seen people using chatbots also. They use Lex and they integrate with their SAP application. So these are some of the machine learning services. These are some of the AI related services which you can use with your SAP workload. Right. Now, when we talk about SAP on AWS, so you do not have to reinvent the wheels. There are customers who are actually running SAP on AWS, and case studies are available. Public references are available. So please go through those case studies, see how they transform their SAP application, how they are running it on AWS. And believe me, there is a lot of learning. So there are tons of customers who are already running SAP workload on AWS. So it's customer experience driven reference architecture, right? So the architecture, AWS architecture may change, may evolve over the time, but it's all customer driven. So it's all based on the customer feedback. And if you talk about industry vertical, SAP application on AWS, I mean, it runs, if we talk about industry vertical, even manufacturing, oil and gas, power utilities, media and entertainment, almost all the industry verticals are covered, especially for SAP. Right. Now, enterprise business transformation is I would say it's a slow process. It takes time, right? Business transformation will not happen overnight, but it is happening. So as we see, 88% of the enterprise have cloud first strategy. So they want to use cloud platform as much as they can. And if you talk about opportunity is huge, because 86% of the infra spend still is on premises. So if you talk about infrastructure spending on premises, it's still 86%. So there's a huge number. So this is a Gartner report. This is as per Gartner report 2019. The biggest inhibitor to cloud adoption is the lack of skills. Enterprises can't hire and train fast enough. That's where partners like Exalogic comes in, which provides professional service, which follows proper process for the SAP migration. So migration, actually, it's a complex activity. It goes through a lot of phases, as Deepa discussed, but the partners like Exalogic can really help you in streamlining your business transformation journey. Now, to summarize the key AWS differentiator, here are some of the points. So 48 terabyte EC2 instance. I don't think any other cloud provider offers this big instance for running SAP. AWS is in the market for 11 years. So they have deepest and broadest experience, plus a lot of services which other cloud platform doesn't have, right? It has 5 times SAP services on any cloud provider. The innovation is happening at a very fast rate. So if we talk about other cloud providers like GCP, Azure, they don't have this many SAP services. To name one, I think SAP backend service, which came recently, it's for the SAP backup. So this is based on the customer feedback. Customer gave the feedback to AWS that they need services for the SAP backup. So they came up with SAP backend agent. And there are 5,000 plus active AWS customers who are running SAP on AWS. So we are not reinventing the wheel here. So we can make use of those case studies. We can make use of customer experience, and we can plan our migrations, or we can plan our greenfield deployment accordingly, right? Prasoon, can we move to the next slide? All right, one step back. Yeah. So just to conclude, we discussed about SAP architecture template. So you can have a consistent SAP architecture for all of your customer. I know there will be few changes related to depending upon the interfaces and customer requirement, but you can have a standard template for SAP where you define all of the best practices, where you take into consideration high availability and other AWS well architected framework related setup. Right, it is easy to build, so you can launch SAP certified instances in cloud platform in minute. You don't have to wait for long. Security is of utmost importance for AWS. So when you deploy your workload on AWS, when you deploy SAP workload on AWS, you actually control all the aspect of security. So you can actually encrypt your volume, you control, you can control logging, you have much more visibility into your infrastructure. And then governance aspect, again, it is again very important. If you're following any compliance, if you have any compliance requirement, or if you have certain audit requirements, so these requirements can be met easily on AWS platform. So data transfer was discussed by Deepa. So we have multiple options to transfer data to cloud providers, to AWS. You can minimize downtime. So you should plan for the high availability, and you should plan for disaster recovery options. In that way, we can really minimize the downtime, even though EC2 instances comes with an SLA, but highly recommended to plan for the high availability. You can conduct testing against your SAP workload on AWS, even pen testing, performance testing, beta testing. All those testing can be done in AWS, and you can even have a test environment set up on AWS. And the beauty is, when you set up a test environment on AWS, you will only pay for what you use. So let's say if the testers are not working at night, or if the testers are not working at some point of time, you can shut down those machines and save cost. So if you need testing environment for 1 hour a day or 2 hours a day, you don't have to make an upfront commitment. On the hardware, you can just use this infrastructure for 2 hours and incur the cost for 2 hours. So this is really flexible. And in terms of cost, you can significantly optimize your cost by following AWS recommendations and by following AWS best practices for cost optimization. You can consistently monitor the performance of your machine, and anytime if you feel you are overutilizing or if you're underutilizing your resources, you can scale up and down anytime. So with this, you can have significant amount of cost saving as well. I think that's it from my side.
Rahil, thank you very much. That was very insightful, especially about the tools that is available along with AWS that you mentioned, whether it is for SAP infrastructure, starting from AWS Cloud Formation, automated application and database installation, which is possible through the AWS System Manager, the tools which is available for monitoring, such as Amazon CloudWatch, the ability to do automated testing using AWS tools such as Cloud Trial and AWS Config. I think very insightful. Thanks for your inputs as well. And to the participants, we hope that it was informative and insightful as well. And if you have any additional questions or you need to get more information, please feel welcome to write back to us or contact one of us through the email addresses provided. And that's it for today. Yeah, thank you very much, and wish you all a good day ahead and stay safe.
Sasun, I think before we disconnect, I think we have a question from one of the attendees.
All right. Okay. Sorry about that. Yeah. We can take that.
Yeah, it's in the chat.
Great. I think we've taken the questions, right, Rahil? Should we?
Yes. Yes, Sasun.
Perfect. If there's any other questions among the audience, please feel welcome to write to us and we'll be happy to respond back. Thank you very much. And we will conclude with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Sasun. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahil. Thank you, Deepa.
Thank you, everyone.
Stay safe. Yeah, bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks to everyone. You too. Hello. Hello.